Manic, Pixie, Dreamgirls, how VTubers accidentally debunked. Woke ideologies. What are woke ideologies? What do you consider a woke ideology? Having to have any group of marginalized group somewhere? Like gay people, people based on their ethnicity. Fake boobs are a woke ideology, okay. Ideologues, not ideologues. Wait. Can you misspell that? Is that a different word? Google Translate. Ideologen? Does that just mean ideologies? Or is that someone who enforces ideologies? Wait, what does that word mean? It's the people, not the ideas, so the people that are pushing the woke ideologies. An ideologue is someone that preaches the ideology. Okay, so same shit. So it's the same shit in the end. Technically. Either way, let's watch it. When one gender is mistreated, the other ends up becoming disenfranchised as well. Interesting.
Hey internets! One of the more bizarre questions out there is something I like to refer to as the VTuber question. Are VTubers cringe and degenerate? Or are they fine?
Yo, is that a Lara? Yo, I swear that was a Lara.
Refer to as the VTuber question. Are VTubers cringe and degenerate? Or are they fine examples of just pure, harmless, youthful fun? The answer to which is all pretty subjective and something you can argue either way. But what's more interesting is a question that often comes packed with the VTuber question, which is, are VTubers political? And that—
Oh my— Bro, how old is this video? This video is from 5 months ago? Oh, bro. People, especially Annabellans, are more and more saying that VTubers are political. How? This would be, again, on the base that VTubing is a community, which it just is not. It's a medium.
Question often gets swept under the rug with usually the milquetoast answer, which is that, oh, it just depends on the VTuber. Some VTubers like Kirsch focus on politics a lot, then you have others like Pippa who are occasionally political, and then you have fun little moments like this one.
What do you think of men who get cooked?
I think that's really sad. They should
God damn
beat
it.
their wives.
God damn it.
Peachy, isn't it? But honestly, most of them tend to avoid the subject of politics entirely, unless it's in the context of a joke. Like, for example, Iron Mouse reacting to AI of Donald Trump and Joe Biden playing video games. Which is—
Yeah, that's not political, it's just politicians. AI of politicians playing a fucking game. That's not political.
But obviously just satire. Which is honestly a smart position for most VTubers to take. Treat politics as something to laugh at, instead of taking a serious stance, so that way they don't alienate half their audience. And so that's the answer you're gonna usually get when you ask the question of are VTubers political. But that's not where I'm taking this. There's a much more interesting way to answer this question, which is to interpret it as, are VTubers inherently political?
Bro, was this the stream where she just started singing on the presidential fucking shit? To get presidential favor? Bro, Nero is cooking.
Is there something about VTubers that has inadvertently proven something about modern culture through their rise and success?
Bro, I'm sorry, I gotta get back to that clip because the fucking microphone was just like zooming up from the bottom to the top. It was the funniest shit ever. No, I gotta find that clip.
Wow, that's a really good song.
There's just I can't play the song. I don't know if it's copyrighted or not, but that is so funny. This clip is a gem.
VTubers that has inadvertently proven something about modern culture through their rise and success that most people wouldn't even notice or even think about. That perhaps there's an experiment that all VTubers have been participating in whether they know it or not, which handedly disproves a major mainstream media narrative. Intentional logical fallacies are used by various media pundits all the time, which is
Ground
why I'm
News!
partnered with Ground News. Different media sources can report the same story in ways that makes it look like the exact opposite of what's going on is true. And Ground News helps you see through this bias by compiling thousands of articles and organizing them by their bias and political leaning, with features designed mainly to save you time in comparison to if you were to try and do this by yourself. For example, there are many articles going around this month on what's going to happen to Donald Trump's legal troubles and criminal charges since he became president-elect last month. Kind of puts the whole damper on the whole thing, doesn't it? And Ground News provides a lot of features to help you easily sort through these articles and see through the bias. First off, it gives a nice summary of the issue. Prosecutors don't want judges to toss out Trump's criminal conviction, but recognize that keeping it going would be difficult since he's now president-elect, so they are instead trying to stall the case. It also gives a summary of different sources reporting on the topic. Right-leaning sources seem to suggest the prosecutors are obsessed, going too far, the whole thing is lawfare. Center sources simply state the DA wants to pause the case but uphold the conviction until he leaves office. And left sources like MSNBC reported as if bad orange man is using his election win to evade justice. If you were to ask me, the whole thing is dumb since it was a victimless crime anyways. But Ground News can help you come to your own conclusion. It lets you easily see which sources are reporting and how, such as with this handy bias distribution chart, or with things like this that let you see who owns the media sources reporting on the topic. You can also click on a source to be taken directly to their version of the article, or find similar articles quickly and easily via the similar news topics feature. There's also Blind Spot, which lets you see at a glance topics that are being ignored or underreported by various media sources based on how far to the left or right they lean, which lets you see things that you might ordinarily miss due to the reporting bias. Lastly, Ground News is independent and subscriber funded, so to get the same features I have, you can go to ground.news/MentisWave or scan my QR code to now get 50% off the Vantage plan, which gets you unlimited access. But anyways, the answer to that question, have VTubers accidentally proven something about our culture that mass media doesn't really want to talk about, is in fact a very large yes. And it's something that starts.
What have VTubers proven that the mass don't want to talk about? It's that women can actually be nice, surprisingly enough. It's that not all women are bad. Face doesn't matter, just content does. Yeah, also, yes. Women can be as mentally deranged as men. Also true, yes.
To reveal itself when you start to examine the phrase Manic, Pixie, Dreamgirl. A fantastic example of how modern cultural critique is filled with a lot of really dumb ideas that are both largely misandrous towards men, but interestingly, in this particular case, it's also something that has a side effect of being severely damaging to young women, in that it preaches to young ladies a false narrative that, when taken seriously, will result in them making a series of really bad and dumb decisions that will ultimately ruin her life and destroy any romantic prospects she may have. And
I need to listen to that again. What?
Case, it's also something that has a side effect of being severely damaging to young women, in that it preaches to young ladies a false narrative that, when taken.
Wait, what exactly does? No, we gotta go back further.
Itself when you start to examine the phrase Manic, Pixie, Dreamgirl. A fantastic example of how modern cultural critique is filled with a lot of really dumb ideas that are both largely misandrous towards men, but interestingly, in this particular case, it's also something that has a side effect of being severely damaging to young women, in that it preaches to young ladies a false narrative that, when taken seriously, will result in them making a series of really bad and dumb decisions that will ultimately ruin her life and destroy any romantic prospects she may have. And VTubers have just kind of accidentally proven just how stupid this concept is. So what exactly is a Manic, Pixie, Dreamgirl?
Alright.
I'm sure some people who've clicked on this video already have a basic concept.
I have no idea. This video was recommended to me quite some time ago, and I've just gotten around to watching it.
But for those who don't know, Manic, Pixie, Dreamgirl is a trope, a character archetype of something commonly found in fiction, although can occasionally exist outside of it. And the character usually has the following traits. The first is that they are eccentric or has a quirky personality, you know, not like the other girls type. They're also young, female, and usually single. And so in fiction, she will usually be the romantic interest or the hero of the story. She also often has interests and hobbies that are less common for a woman of her age. She's usually optimistic and positive about life, although this rule can be broken if it's in line with her eccentric nature. And lastly, she usually ends up teaching the hero of the story something about life. She either helps him get on his feet, provides him with some kind of motivation, or again, just serves as the basic love interest of the story. So basically, she's quirky, she's positive, she's fun, she's different. And
That doesn't explain the Manic part quite yet, though.
She's also, strangely enough, an archetype that you could easily apply to, well, pretty much every single successful VTuber. So I actually found that it was harder to find a VTuber that doesn't fit under the Manic Pixie Dream Girl label. The vast majority of the VTubing industry can be understood as young girls, usually with a fun and upbeat disposition, using an anime model instead of just being a cam girl, and they usually have some kind of eccentric or unique backstory
Manic because she's excitable?
to their character.
Okay.
There's some men out there who are VTubers, but mostly it's young women. Usually
Yeah, VTubing is a largely female-dominated space.
women under the age of 35. And what VTubers mostly do is provide entertainment in a manner that is mostly pandering to a male audience.
I think pandering is the wrong word. I would call it appealing to the male audience. Because pandering would mean that they're actively doing this to specifically get males interested in their content. Targeted at. Yeah, I feel pandering is the wrong word. Pandering is a strong word, but it's not entirely wrong. I don't know. I don't think it's pandering. I generally wouldn't say pandering because, again, as I just said, pandering would imply that they are actively going out of their way to appeal to men.
So they'll do things like streaming video games
Catering,
or reacting to
maybe.
internet memes
Yes.
while being quirky and fun. The only real difference here is, again, they're not entirely fictional. There is a real person behind the model. But at the same time, they're still somewhat playing a character. I mean, most of them break character all the time, and only occasionally.
Yeah, I would say at this point, there's more people that don't do kayfabe than there are people that are doing kayfabe because there's more and more indie VTubers at this point. There's more and more people becoming VTubers. There's more and more people using a VTuber model. So, most people are just people using an avatar, just enjoying having a virtual face. Kayfabe. It's kayfabe. Gosh.
Play within their role. In many ways, VTubers are just female streamers using an anime character. But the point is, the successful ones, at least, nearly all fall under the Manic Pixie Dream Girl archetype, which is very, very interesting. Because the thing about the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is that it's also an archetype that is very deeply hated by the sort of neo-Marxist woke progressive types. And they, of course, use the usual prog snarl words. It's problematic, or it's sexist, or that it's...
Well, that's perfect. Bro, that is so perfect. More sex and problematic, harmful stereotype. Yeah, it's... Let me tell you why they think that way. Because mostly VTubers are just women doing women things. Mostly anyway. Right? They're just like enjoying their hobbies. They're just being themselves. Mostly. And to these woke people, to these woke ideologues, people pushing the ideological blah blah bloop. I hate English. It's not girl boss enough. You're not slaying enough. You're not being a strong, independent woman. I mean, I guess that way it makes sense why people say that me saying men deserve to be loved and supported, or whatever the fuck I said then, right? Like, I don't remember what the exact quote was. That people just said I'm pandering to right-wingers for some fucking reason, man. You're not treating men like trash, yeah.
It's harmful in some way. Because, you know, it hurt their subjective feelings, so therefore it's harmful. Their logic is flawless. Don't question it, don't think about it, just accept it. And they've been talking about this for much longer than VTubers have been a thing. And
What did I just say? The Manic Pixie Dream Girl tropes versus women.
And so VTubers aren't really their
30 years ago.
go-to example. Instead, they complain about characters usually in mainstream movies like Summer from, Days of Summer, or
Never watched
Sam
this.
from Garden State, or Ruby
watch
from
it
Ruby
either.
Spark.
Didn't watch this either.
And their complaints about it are as follows. The first is that the Manic Pixie Dream Girl only exists to help the male hero out of depression, and that she is therefore just a tool to be used to this end. The second complaint is that she has no life of her own, and often her family has no part in her depiction. Also, she has no will of her own, and just goes along with whatever men want her to do, which is then used to imply that she's failing to pursue her own happiness, and that she's helping men grow while experiencing no growth herself. And that the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is just in general unrealistic. Overall, the main complaint here seems to be just woke progressive feminists screeching that women are not objects that exist to help men or inspire them or make men happy or whatever.
My objectification is my systematic oppression, my bad.
And that the Manic Pixie Dream Girl archetype somehow implies that they are. Now, like all midwit takes, there is a base level of truth in these people whining about Manic Pixie Dream Girls, because unrealistic characters to serve as romantic interest absolutely do exist, and they can get pretty darn cringe. For example, a common trope you might see in romance novels written for women is an alpha male Giga Chad with supernatural powers, taking interest in a totally ordinary, normal, boring girl.
Twilight. Freaking Twilight. Fits right in there.
For basically no reason. And he then proceeds to take care of her and protect her throughout the story for, again, basically no reason. Twilight is usually given as the basic example of this, but it happens a lot.
Pre-watched!
And on the flip side, you can also find unrealistic female characters in things like Japanese harem anime, where an extremely boring male character, with no personality so to speak, that always looks like Shinji for some reason,
Oh my
gets his
lord.
pick of a slew of extremely attractive female characters who all have the hots for him for basically no reason whatsoever. He just kind of exists, and suddenly all these girls who have been designed to have absolutely no unattractive traits in them whatsoever suddenly all want him. And it's true that the
Some harem animes are really just so fucking boring. Like, literally, main character literally has zero character. It's just so painful. Some are good, don't get me wrong. There's some good ones, but bro.
these tropes can be bad, however, they're not exactly sexist and harmful, at least not to the gender they represent. Rather, they're usually harmful more so to the people reading them. The problem with these kind of characters is that they're wish fulfillment characters. They give young readers an extremely unrealistic expectation for the opposite sex, which can absolutely lead to people becoming cold and alone. I mean, there's a reason why
I did not like school days. I hate school days. Bro, what are you smoking? That's the worst anime ever created. Oh my god, I hate that anime. It's so bad.
harem anime is often laughed at as a genre of anime that is mainly for virgins, because it kinda is, to be honest. A really basic red pill advice for young men is that you can't just sit around and wait for some 10 out of 10 pure-hearted female with absolutely no flaws about her whatsoever to just magically take an interest in you and do all the work and just want you for no reason. That just doesn't happen. Rather, what happens most of the time is that you end up with the partner you earned. So in reality, you have to become the kind of man that the kind of woman you want finds attractive. And of course, the same thing is true in reverse. If a woman is not attractive to the kind of man that she finds attractive, she's not going to get that man. There are
yes, that seems
exceptions
logical
to this basic rule, but most of the time you can't just do nothing and have your perfect dream partner fall into your life. You have to actually do something. And in many ways it's very similar to economics. You have to offer people something that they want in order to get what you want. And there's another channel known as Home Math that kind of goes into this extensively when we're talking about—
No, not Home Math! God damn it. I remember I was watching a clip from this guy, man. Oh my god.
relationship advice. A big problem with the dating market is that too many people are going into it only thinking about what they can get out of it, rather than going into it thinking about what they have to give, or what exactly is it about you that makes you a good partner. And I have a special understanding of this because one thing people might not know about me is that I'm actually a married man. I normally would never bring this up, and I normally don't really talk about myself much, because it doesn't really matter in the context of philosophical or political channel. But it is relevant because I can point out one very simple fact about a lasting marriage, which is that you have to care about what your partner wants. You have to—
Yeah. Duh. You have to care about each other. Crazy, crazy concept to enjoy being with someone. You have to care about them. What?
Care about their well-being. In order for love to work and for it to last, you have to wake up every day thinking about what you have to give, rather than just what you can get out of your partner. If I didn't care about my wife's well-being, or if she didn't care about my well-being, it wouldn't work. You both have to genuinely respect each other's will.
Yeah, this is any relationship ever, man. Like any good, lasting relationship ever. This is how any relationship should work.
Almost as if it were your own. And so that is just kind of the basic nugget of truth that exists within this critique of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl archetype that we're seeing from these neo-Marxist woke progressive feminist types. The problem is, and where they completely screw up and get it all completely backwards, is that what they're whining about isn't actually unrealistic at all. I decided to watch some of the movies and look at some of the characters that are often called out as being Manic Pixie Dream Girls. And the only consistency I found is that they were women, they had some femininity and some quirkiness to their personality, they liked to have fun, and they didn't hate men. So to any woman out watching this...
There it is! There it is! That's the point! They didn't hate men! They didn't hate men! Unrealistic, too unrealistic, damn. Yeah, everyone knows all women hate men. Everyone knows this, okay?
If you meet these 4 traits, congratulations, you apparently don't exist. So what we are seeing here is kind of the reverse problem. Rather than setting an unrealistically high bar for a potential partner, what we're really seeing here is an example of feminist critique going too far. They're setting an unrealistically low bar for women to go for. Or if you are anything other than a man-hating, scowling, strong woman who don't need no man, then you somehow represent a problematic, unrealistic...
Yo, it's Leaflet. Yo, Leaflet, right there.
Standard, and that's of course completely ridiculous. It kind of reminds me of the male incel community complaining about how women aren't interested in men who are poor, stupid, and short, or otherwise lack any masculinity in them whatsoever. Just because standards exist doesn't mean you're being oppressed. And look, I get it, it can be really hard to meet some of those standards, especially as a guy, because some of those standards are indeed a lot higher. But whining about it doesn't really change the fact that that bar exists. And going back to VTubers and examining them alongside the movies that get accused of having Manic Pixie Dream Girls in them, we can easily see how this bar isn't really that unrealistic at all. And a lot of the critique also has some really obviously faulty logic when you think about it, which really shouldn't surprise anybody, because one of the main central components of neo-Marxist philosophy is that they tend to view everything through the false dichotomy of victims and oppressors.
Oh god, I hate women. Sorry, not all women, obviously. But women that act this way. That act like everyone needs to be a strong, independent woman that needs no man to, I don't fucking know, help her in her life, whatever. Like, you can go boss all day, queen. Go off. Slay. I hate it. I fucking hate it. I hate it so much, man. Like, men and women just depend on each other. They, what's the word? They make up for each other's weaknesses. It's just not strong and independent? No. No, I'm not. Not at all.
In reality, social interaction is much more complicated than that. And as a result of this, they tend to commit false dichotomy fallacies and make bad faith arguments all the time. For example, one really stupid and very common false dichotomy is objectification. For example, attractive female characters in a story exist, or lots of VTubers like to use sexy models. And there are...
This is so crazy to me, right? Like, for some time, I was accused of using, like, a Guna bait model. I just like thighs. I just like thighs, man. And tummy. Like, look at tummy. Very cute. Cute tummy. I guess I objectified myself, man. I guess, like, me getting thigh highs, the skirt, like a short top. I guess I objectified myself, man. Damn. Damn. They're complementary. Yeah, man and women are complementary. Yeah. Of course, Kids is not listening. Gobo? Shut up! You know how many messages I get in chat? I can't read every single one, Gobo. God fucking damn it, man. I suffer from mommy issues, but in the rare moment where my mom is a great person, therefore making me believe that women can be trusted. Damn.
For men who enjoy that are objectifying them. They only view her as an object. But that's actually a false dichotomy. It is
You know what's funny? Bigger boobs just meant better survivability. So, men are genetically attracted to bigger boobs. Not all of them! But it's just fucking DNA and your fucking genetics. More milk for baby, exactly! Exactly, that's what it means. You're the problem, Kitsu. What a shame.
is entirely possible, in fact, very common, for a man to find a woman sexy and attractive and still respect her as a human being with human rights.
What? You can be respected pretty? No, wait, you can be respected and sexy? You can be a pretty woman and have good opinions? No way. That's impossible. No. This guy is absolutely fucking wrong. No, this is not how it works. No, you're either pretty and dumb, or you're dumb and or you're smart and ugly. No in between.
Just because sex sells doesn't mean that men only view women as sex objects. You can absolutely find a woman sexy and still respect her. And yet whenever I see these...
Yep. Also, there are women that just enjoy doing loot tubing. Like, both here, Cinder and Shallily. Shallily is a little bit of a tamer loot-tuber. Cinder is more going out on all of that. And there's people that are even more on that. Melody, for example. Cottontail. Abico. Exactly. They're all loot-tubers. If there's a market for it, people will fill the need for that item in the end, right? 5 months old? Yeah, I know. This is before this Cinder Google Doc. I know. Doesn't matter. She was still a loot tuber. This doesn't diminish my point. She was still a loot tuber. And she's probably coming back in the future. Aren't they originally hentai VAs? Cottontail is. The other ones, I don't think so. I don't think the other ones are. Only Cottontail, I believe. Either way, there's demand for it. There's a market for it. People enjoy being this way. Let them be. Personally, I'm not a fan of it, but if they want to do it and are, like, not hiding the fact that they are doing it and are proud of what they're doing, whatever, go for it, man. Get that bag. And enjoy what you're doing. But that doesn't mean that they're objectifying themselves. So dumb.
Radical feminist neo-Marxist critiques of art and literature and whatnot, they just automatically assume that any attractive female character is being objectified, which is objectively invalid reasoning. Those two scales are not tied together. Men's brains do not work in a way where the more attractive we see a woman, we then automatically have to see her as less of a human being. The personality scale and the look scale are entirely capable of going up and down independently of each other. And yet, because neo-Marxist philosophy tends to view the evil straight white male as the oppressor group, it is automatically always taken in bad faith, and so it is assumed that the evil, straight, white male must therefore be objectifying any woman who is found to be attractive, or any...
Oops. Ew, cis, white males. Disgusting. Cis white males in my Christian server. Get out of here.
Evil, straight, white male must therefore be objectifying any woman who is found to be attractive, or any woman in art or literature who is attractive. And that's objectively not true. It's a false dichotomy fallacy. It's not a sustainable argument. And as I've just shown you, it falls apart very easily when examined. And here's the thing. The same thing is true for pretty much all the other complaints about the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. For example, going back to Bro,
I just want to add to this. Not only straight white men like pretty women. Pretty women like pretty women. Everyone likes pretty women unless you're a self-hating cunt. KoAlan, you gotta cut this word. Like, bro, are we the bad guys? No! We talked about this just recently. Like, people just like attractive characters because they're attractive. It's as simple as that. They're pretty. People want to be pretty themselves. People want to be able to identify with pretty people. People want to be pretty.
VTubers. There are a lot of young, depressed men in Western society. That's just an unfortunate reality. And for many of them, watching VTubers helps them out of that depression. Does that mean they see the VTuber as just a tool to bring him out of depression? Just an object with no...
Well, some do, okay? Let's be honest. Some do, but the majority doesn't.
Will of her own? Just a means to an end of that goal? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. That is just another false dichotomy. For the exact same reason, just because someone helped you out of depression doesn't mean you view them as a tool with no human agency of their own. That's ridiculous. And going back to mainstream movies...
Yes, but it still happens. But far less than, like, the general just enjoyer of VTubers.
We then have to ask, so why is it that Sam, in Garden State, is therefore just an automatic objectified tool for helping Andrew out of depression? Why does that need to imply that she has no agency of her own? It really doesn't make any sense as soon as you realize that it's just all false dichotomy. And
only fat girls hate pretty women? No. Only self-hating fat women hate pretty women. Because there's people that are overweight that actively do want to lose weight. They are. It's the self-hating people that hate pretty women.
She's also not a perfect girl at all. She's not unrealistic. She has problems of her own. If you actually watch the movie, Sam has some pretty serious issues. Or how about the idea that the Manic Pixie Dream Girl has no life of her own? I mean, where's that even coming from? So because a girl doesn't open up about who she is and give us a massive backstory about everything in her life, then she has no life of her own? I mean, plenty of streamers, not just VTubers, and plenty of content creators don't talk about their life that much outside of what content they make. That doesn't imply that we have no life, and it certainly doesn't mean that you're only allowed to look at them as someone who has no life. Again,
like, legitimate, what the hell? Only feminists men should of themselves. Me, okay, no, I don't want to do it anymore. Do it out of spite. Like, as in, like, don't do it out of spite. Outlive the haters. Outlive your fucking haters, man.
In another stupid, bad faith
yes.
false dichotomy, where the evil, straight white male is assumed to be a villain who only views others as a means to an end. And then the weirdest critique of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl has to be failing to pursue her own happiness. Because that's a case where it can be entirely reciprocal.
I don't get how VTubers would be considered, Manic Pixie Dream Girls if they are considered, like, if the stereotype would be, like, if the trope is that they don't have any goals to proceed, like, to pursue on their own. That is absolutely fucking false. Like, just one example, Susei. Bro, fucking Susei fucking had a dream to, like, perform on that stage, I forgot what it was called, and fucking fulfilled it, which is awesome. I fucking love her music, man.
So people have fun making other people happy. That makes them happy. Having fun.
That is also true. There's people just enjoying making other people happy. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
And being entertaining for others can be a mutually beneficial act, like with Summer in 500 Days of Summer. And all the silly antics that she's pulling, her character seems to be having just as much fun. In fact, in many cases, she seemed to have more fun than the male main character. And with VTubers, most of those girls stream for hours on end, and you can tell that they're genuinely enjoying it.
Yeah, we are streaming because it's fun to us, mainly. Otherwise, we would have never become streamers. Like, if it's not fun, why would you do it? Okay, to be fair, there are self-hating people that are streaming because they think they're gonna make a quick buck on it. Sure, there's people that are just in it for the money. But those people are noticeable if they're just in it for the money. And people call them out and they fall off so quickly. All those modern ideologies don't take human nature into account. That's the problem, really. They totally deny the fact that we're mentally not really much evolved from our Bronze Age ancestors, apes with tools. Fair, from what I heard, is that society, like electricity, technology, all of that bullshit, advanced way quicker than our brains, than we did. That we are not really equipped for the current advancement. Which I honestly believe. It is quite overwhelming what the fuck is happening, right? Why so serious? Yes.
And having fun with their audience. Which then kind of brings you to another problem with neo-Marxist woke progressive thought, which is that they tend to have a very bizarre zero-sum mentality towards the world. They tend to think that one person's gain is another person's loss. One class is the victim, the other class is the oppressor. All again stemming from false dichotomies.
Yeah, and you against me mentality, victimhood mentality, it's so dumb.
And what ends up happening as a result of this is that the sort of radical neo-Marxist feminist types end up shaming any woman who doesn't hate men, which is probably why I see the word.
Yeah, I've been shamed for not hating men so many times. Like, I mentioned this quite a bit. This is going to be an example from a man. When I said men deserve to be loved and treated right, a man, quote, retweeted me and said, if you love men so much, let me beat you up. It's just like, what? 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 It's just... Either way, apart from that guy, there were so many women that hated on me. Other VTubers, other women overall. I believe Denims blocked me while that post went viral because she has me blocked now for some reason. Never interacted with that woman.
Nothing of value was lost.
Nothing of value was lost, obviously. I had women saying they hoped I would get R-worded. They hoped I would get Minecraft ended. All of that. They said I am actively pandering to misogynists, which also just wasn't true. It's just like, I just said men deserve to be loved and be treated right. That's all. I didn't say hate women. I didn't say it's okay for men to attack women either. Like, the loving and tolerant left. Yeah, exactly. And never forgetty, I got doxxed over you too. Never forget that one.
Misha often being thrown at VTubers. Now, on the surface of the word,
I've been called a pick-me from the very beginning of creating React videos. From the very fucking beginning. Reacted to Shu, called a pick-me. Instantly.
Is defined as a woman who devalues herself in order to get picked by men, or a woman who is constantly seeking validation from men. But the problem is, the word in practice generally gets used against any lady who happens to get along with men just fine, or just does something that the neo-Marxists don't like. For example, apparently Dipper Dog is a pick-me because she reacted to a video of men doing better than women at hunting.
Bro, I swear to God, I was the first one that reacted to this video. I swear to God, I set a React trend with that video. I'm taking that one. I am taking that one.
So she had fun laughing at one of the basic biological differences between male and female and humans.
By the way, best performing video I ever had, almost if not already has 500,000 views.
Apparently this is pick-me behavior. Or how about another example? Apparently Smug Elena is a pick-me for making fun of game journos over the whole Black Myth Wukong fiasco.
What?
Okay, so sometimes VTubers make fun of woketoids too, and that somehow makes them pick-me's. Gee, it's almost like pick-me isn't really a word that's used with any kind of consistency in regards to what it's supposed to be defined as.
Okay, well, she really called a pick-me for this take, though. Like, he's kind of covering the screen. I need to know if she was really called a pick-me for this one.
It's almost like it's just being used as shaming language against any woman who steps out of line and goes against the cult of woke.
No, there's no pick-me. Give me more anti-woke pandering. Tell me the AI is bad for the 100... This is out of smug. No, this is out of smug. 100%, this is right out of /smug/. 100%. And they love her there, but they just hate the content she reacts to. Like all this DAI stuff, all the meme stuff. This is straight out of smug.
Of woke. And the more you look into it, that seems to be exactly what's going on. Like another silly example, apparently every single VTuber who played Hogwarts Legacy, from Pikami, Pipkin Pippa...
Yeah, we know about this thing, man. Oh god, disgusting behavior from the tolerant left.
Is a pick-me girl for playing Hogwarts Legacy. Which is weird, because Hogwarts Legacy wasn't even really that anti-woke. It's just that the neo-Marxists have—
Bro, they had trans people in the game. There were trans people in the fucking game, and the trans people still hated it because, J.K. Rowling. Like, shut the fuck up.
decided that for some reason J.K. Rowling is literally the female reincarnation of Germany Bad Mustache Man.
You know what's funny? All from what I know anyway, right? Take this with a grain of salt, I might be misinformed. From what I know, J.K. Rowling mainly advocates for women having women-only spaces. She doesn't hate trans people, but she also doesn't want trans people in, let's say, women-only bathrooms. What else was it? Like, women-only gyms. And sports? Again, might be misinformed. That's the worst I had seen. Personally. Saunas and spas, yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't see anything hyper transphobic from J.K. Rowling. Now, is J.K. Rowling a bad person? Yeah, I do think so. She constantly went back on what she had already written. She said she would have never said Hermione has a white skin when people had literally disproven her with literal quotes from her own fucking books, where it said pale skin as snow, blee blue blab, shit like this, white as whatever. I do think she's a bad person overall, but I do not think that she's like straight up transphobic. I don't know. Again, might be misinformed, take it with a grain of salt. Correct me if I'm wrong even. Like, go on. Rowling is a terrible person, but she is less worse than other, even if I disagree with some of her takes with trans people. Yeah, sure.
And therefore the game is problematic, and therefore every VTuber who plays it is a pick-me. The whole discourse surrounding it, and how this word is used, is just so completely unhinged and insane, that I almost don't even need to point out—
Wait, okay. She's definitely anti-Semitic as the banking trolls are meant to be Jewish. Bro, she didn't invent trolls. And it wasn't even the trolls, it was, what are they called? Goblins. J.K. Rowling did not invent goblins. There's like many videos on why that thing is not true. I am not well spoken enough to give you the exact reasons, but this entire rhetoric was debunked.
J.K. Rowling is literally the female reincarnation of Germany Bad Mustache Man, and therefore the game is problematic, and therefore every VTuber who plays it is a pick-me. The whole discourse surrounding it, and how this word is used, is just so completely unhinged and insane, that I almost don't even need to point out the logical problems with, or the false dichotomies and bad faith assertions anymore. The inconsistency is just so obvious that it practically refutes itself. And if you don't believe me, try searching for the word pick-me on the internet and how it's used yourself. It seems to always be used against any woman who does anything nice for a man, any woman who sets—
I mean, I was called a pick-me, as already mentioned.
any kind of standards for herself whatsoever, or just any girl who just does anything at all that the woke left doesn't approve of. That's probably why the—
I hold myself to a higher standard of behavior. She wants male approval! What a slut! What a pick-me! Gah!
smart move is to do what Pippa did, where she adopted the pick-me label for herself as her government name.
Pick me Pippa, pickle Piper, pick of pickled peppers, pick me Pippa. But that's just my government name. Based.
I would strongly advise this to any woman who finds herself being called a pick-me. Don't take—
Yeah, we made it as a joke here too. I'm a pick me fox. That's what some of my viewers call me, pick me
it
fox.
seriously. Just laugh and move on. And fortunately, it seems that most VTubers seem to understand this. The haters gonna hate mentality is likely the best move here. And so, what's the real conclusion here? Where am I going with this? And the answer to that is that VTubers have accidentally proven that labels like Manic, Pixie, Dreamgirl, and Pick Misha are really just crab mentality, which is the if I can't have it, neither can anyone else mentality.
Crab mentality? I knew of the existence of the mentality, But I don't know that was called crab mentality. What the fuck?
It's a very bizarre and toxic psychological phenomenon where people will try to undermine the success of others. Because one thing that's interesting about VTubers is, again, I'm talking about mostly successful VTubers here. A lot of these girls actually make pretty
Oh, who we got here? Bro, what? Why is he including the Pokemon picture? What?
decent money. They don't make as good of money as some people think.
She's not a
they do, but for any
VTuber!
girl who managed to hit around 100k followers, it can become a pretty stable upper middle class income. And the
I thought he was gonna say become a job or something. Like, a professional, whatever. Because you can have that already underneath 100k, but sure.
girls who manage to hit 1 million can also hit the 7-figure mark in their income as well, which is kind of the bizarre irony of the situation. I've often said the biggest problem with modern feminism isn't so much that it defends women's rights, but rather the problem is it doesn't really defend women's rights.
It pulls other people down, is what it does. It doesn't defend women. It pulls men down. It pulls other people down. It pulls other women down that disagree with them.
It instead tries to entitle women with rights that have nothing to do with property rights, as a form of weird gender socialism to convince women that they're always the victim. You know, going back to the victim-oppressor dichotomy of the whole neo-Marxist ideology. And yet, here they are, shaming successful women because some of those successful women are turning against the woke brigade. It really shows just how toxic the ideology is. But perhaps the worst part
Very
about
toxic.
this isn't really something to do with VTubers specifically, and instead just manifests as general bad dating advice directed at young women. If I were to look at both the red pill manosphere and compare it to, say, female dating strategy, one could attempt to argue that, oh, they're both equally bad, they're two sides of the same coin. But that's not actually true, because the red pill
No?
community at least gives men basic, decent advice, even if it really can be a little bit misogynist at times.
I mean, what does the red pill do? They say, sure, that men need to take care of themselves, that men should work out. Some, sure. Some of them, sure, are good, but you can find good and bad in anything. I think they're both just as bad as each other.
For example, when Andrew Tate says that you should lift and that men should be constantly improving themselves, he's correct. Some
So should women.
of the other things he says may be questionable.
Like, not necessarily always lift, but like, improve themselves, strive to be a better person.
But the basics of the advice is correct, which is that you need to be constantly striving to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Because that way you're focusing on what you have to give, which in turn increases your value in the dating marketplace. Or just makes you a higher value partner in general. And you see that within pretty much all of the red pill community. Constantly improving oneself is always a part of the message. And yet when you look at the advice given to young women in places like female dating strategy, or pretty much any
Bro, what is
dating
this?
advice from a sort of neo-Marxist woke feminist lens, this angle
We should totally go into that subreddit and look at what kind of advice they are giving.
of self-improvement doesn't
that would
really
be fun.
exist. Going back to how Ho Maths puts it, it's stuck at stage 3. They're stuck in the mindset of thinking of relationships only in the context of what you can get out of them. And so the self-improvement element is largely missing from their advice. There's a little bit of it, but it's a drop in the bucket in a sea of entitlement. For example, what is a high-value woman? Well, according to them, a queen. And what is a queen?
A queen! Slay queen, yes! Boss girl. Well, I don't know. What else? What other words do they use? I don't know.
Well, it's a woman who already knows that she's high value. And if that sounds like circular reasoning, well, because it is. And therefore, the queens deserve high value men because they just do. And if you're a woman and you dare question that, and you try to think about what you can do to improve yourself, well then, you guessed it,
Queen Exicon.
you're a pick-me. Do you question the narrative that all the evil straight white males are in fact a bunch of bastards who only want sex? Welp, you're a pick-me.
Realize that AMALT, all men are like that. Thinking not all men is detrimental to your safety? Bro, we so gotta farm the subreddit. Nah. We gotta farm the subreddit, man. What the hell is this bullshit?
You being nice to men? Nope, can't do that because men just want to sleep with you. And any lady who questions that is, again, you guessed it, a pick-me. And while there is a little bit of correct advice here, like for example, I will never be with a man who cheats on me, it doesn't really matter because that one's kinda obvious. There's
Also
nothing
true.
in here that teaches young women what they actually need to know, which is how to improve themselves and how to select for men who are actually interested in commitment. Instead, what I see from this ideology seems to start out from the assertion that you are already maximum value, and so ladies are therefore entitled to commitment from men. And depending on whether you are a man or a woman, if you question this, you are either a pick-me or a sexist. And that is not good advice for young women. Unless, of course, you're trying to write a book that is designed to teach girls how to wake up one day and look in the mirror, discovering that they are 50 years old and still single and never married. Thinking that you're entitled to commitment is terrible advice. And if we look at similar subreddits to FDS, by shared user base, we can see that this is exactly what's happening. Dating over 30, dating over 40, child free. This is definitely not the advice that any young lady should be listening to. And then you look at the red pill community for men, and it's a completely different
Dating over 40, dating over 30.
story.
Okay, man.
There's plenty of self-improvement here. So
Similar subreddits to r/the red pill. Ask TRP, seduction, purple pill debate. What the hell is purple pill? Is that like in between red and blue? Steroids. What is MGTOW? You guys said that too. Like, what does that one mean? Do you know?
Men go their own way, I think. Where just live life without women.
I can go their own way, yeah.
It's just dudes being dudes without bothering.
Alright. Tressors, fitness, social skills, male fashion advice,
action, bodybuilding, male fashion advice, fitness, social skills. This is actual proper advice. And the most important difference, though, is that you almost never see men tearing each other down for being successful. And yet,
Purple pill means took both.
it happens all the time in the circles of fake advice given to women, constantly clawing at each other and ripping each other apart for that one time she did something nice for a boy. It's pretty ridiculous, and it sadly shows that Western society still has yet to fully learn. There's a legendary article called The Misandry Bubble, written by Imran Khan of The Futurist, and one of the most important parts about it that most people kind of gloss over is this section right here. The basic premise of this article is that men and women are equally valuable, but have different strengths and weaknesses, and different priorities. Society is strongest when men and women have roles that are complementary to each other rather than of an adversarial nature. Furthermore, when one gender, either one is mistreated, the other ends up becoming disenfranchised as well. Any society that wishes to sustain itself needs for men and women to get along with
This sounds pretty much like the way it should be,
or else both parties are going to end up suffering, as the culture of their society becomes more and more toxic. And so when you see progressive pseudo-intellectuals, under the guise of women's rights, trying to demonize men, and telling women that holding herself to any kind of standard is giving in to some kind of sexist stereotype, over time that mentality is doomed to end up harming women just as much as it harms men. And VTubers have gained success by just kind of accidentally breaking out of this mold. They've found a niche market in being fun and entertaining and not hating men. So it's
they found a market in that, on one hand, obviously whole life, etc. But for indies, it's that they are not judged based on their looks or usually on the way they live, but solely on the content they create and the character they have, like their personality. This is why VTubing is so good, because it kind of, in streaming and content creation, also levels the what is called playing field.
Kind of a silly but also very real example of the free market kind of fixing it. But unfortunately, there's still a lot of work to do, and the dating market in general needs to be repaired from the damage that has been caused to it by this neo-Marxist regime. And hopefully today I have helped by pointing out just how ridiculous and inconsistent the flawed reasoning that this regime uses really is. Which is important because a lot of these people who believe in this ideology are in fact mainstream corporate journos. And you will see this kind of inconsistency.
I wonder, in the last 5 months, who comes to mind in that regards? Someone with the name of Anna? Working for some little company called Vice?
Consistent reasoning in mainstream publications. But hopefully you now know how to spot it and not fall for it. And so for now, that is all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content and want to support me, you can do so on either Ko-Fi, Subscribestar, or by buying some merch, or by again checking out Ground News. Because they really do a great job in showing how the same story can be shown in a completely different light from different sources. But yeah, again, for this video, that is it. Till next time.
Really good video, man. I really enjoyed that. What the hell? Leaflet fan discovered. Oh, in the chat. Okay. Very good video. I really like that. Like, in some middle parts, I didn't have much to say, but I do think I added a little bit of extra stuff, my opinions and shit in it. Yeah. Great video. Yeah. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. Mentis always well spoken. Honestly, this is the first video I've watched of him. Of his. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for watching.